Happy Tuesday. I cannot believe we are in the second week of July. I mean, it just started, and here we are, just moving right through the days, aren't we? But, yeah, so here we are. We're going to do this. We're going to just walk right through July and just embrace every day. You know, knowing that it's going quickly, we need to be more mindful to be present in this day. But that has nothing to do with what we're talking about today. So, I want to first start with asking you if you've heard the expression stuck in story. Has anyone ever told you that you're just stuck in the past or stuck in a story? And what does that even mean? It's a term that coaches use a lot. Probably not as much that terminology used in just day-to-day conversation with your friends and what have you. But it's pretty much just how it sounds, that you're stuck in your present day and how you show up from something that happened in your past. And so let me try to give you some examples of that. Let's say as a child, you maybe you have there are many siblings, and there just wasn't enough time to devote to each child and give them the individualized time that you may have really desired. And so you took on a story in your childlike mind. These aren't necessarily true, but it was your understanding and your impression as what your ego told you during these times, that they didn't really care about you. They didn't have time to really pay attention to you. You weren't important. You're just not worthy. And so you carry that through life, that you may always be doing things to try to strive to be seen and to be validated, to just be acknowledged. And, it wasn't anything perhaps that the parents said. It was just, again, that child's interpretation. And so you are moving forward in your life trying to gain something that you didn't get as a child. So that would be stuck in story. Nobody ever took care, or nobody ever seemed to care about me. Nobody ever seemed to love me. Nobody ever saw the wonderful things that I did. And so that's just an example. And perhaps somebody had this is crazy, but this is something that I heard the other day, talking with somebody about fireworks and all, and we also had a really bad storm, and this person was telling me that their dog, as a puppy, they rescued him, but the dog was in a lot when a horrific storm came up and a tree fell on the dog lot and the dog was trapped. So now that's a dog, but it's the same thing. Fast forward, he's an older dog now, and he still is traumatized by that story, that what happened to him in the past. So that's a couple of examples. Certainly that could be true for a child as well, being in a tornado or a hurricane or anything like that. So that's what we talk about when we talk about being in story. Okay, so it's fun to remember good times, and we should. We should remember those good times and keep them first and foremost. But when you get stuck in the past, then what happens is the past starts directing your future, and you place limits on yourself. You may say, well, I can't do that because I've never been able to do anything right. Nobody ever seemed to accept anything that I did as good, and so then you've limited yourself. Okay, so it's truth be told, it's easier to remember our past than to try to imagine what a wonderful future could look like. I mean, if I was to say, hey, what is it you want in your life? What are your goals? You may be kind of put on the spot and not really know what to say about that, especially if you're more of a seasoned, mature person like myself. It's you have to really think about those things. The things that we may have wanted to do in our youth may not be, we may have already done them, or they may not be as relevant or something we want to do right now. So it's hard to tap into that imagination and really see the future. So that's why it's easier to stay in the past. As if it's bad, at least you've been through it and you know what it is and it's comfortable and you're getting by, right? So I get it. And the difficult times are tough, right? I mean, they are tough. And when you're going through them, you don't know how you're going to get through them. You don't know how much longer you're going to have to do it, and you really at times don't even know if you can get through it. And we've all had those experiences, and I'll just share one for myself. My parents lived 6.5 hours away from me, and my mother developed Alzheimer's, and so they would not. My father, who was still very cognitively intact, just more feeble in his physical body, but he refused to move down here with us or in an apartment, just wasn't going to do that. And so I took a sabbatical, and I literally drove every Monday 6.5 hours up to where they lived, and then stayed 4 days and drove 6.5 hours back, a couple days at home, got up on Monday, and repeated that scenario. And I did that every week for 4 years. And I'm going to tell you, there were times that I was at the top of my driveway and I said, Lord, I can't do this. I'm not going. I can't do it. I just don't have any more in me. I cannot do it. I was so physically exhausted. It was horrible seeing my parents decline. Both of my brothers had passed away, and so it was just me at this point, and so it was hard. It was so hard, but it was just life. And I always kind of joke that at the top of the driveway, after I had my little pity party, it's like I heard God say, "Okay, you done? You ready? Let's go. I got you. We're going." And He would just get me through it. I just always sensed His presence, and I knew that so many friends and church members were praying for me, and there were so many blessings along the way, despite it being such a difficult situation. But I still remember, I can't keep doing this. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do it. And so, yeah, it's definitely difficult. So what have you noticed, though, after you've gone through a difficult situation? Are you stronger? Are you maybe more resourceful? Are you more compassionate? More patient? More flexible? More understanding? Do you have a stronger faith? Are you more accommodating? The list really goes on, doesn't it? It could be any or all of those things and even more. Time is a wonderful teacher, and we would never choose these experiences, but it's because of those situations that we are stronger and wiser and all the other things that I listed. We don't usually see it in the here and the now when we're going through it. It's only afterwards that maybe the next little situation comes up, trying a difficult time, and you just kind of breeze right through it. You're like, well, how did I do that? Or people, maybe you didn't recognize that it was hard, and people say to you, oh my gosh, how are you doing that? And you realize it was the training ground that you had in previous experiences that you built upon, and you were able to continue to move forward. So, let the past shape you, through those experiences, and then let the lessons that you learned emerge forth, okay? And let that be at the forefront. It's important to, experience the here and the now and be in this moment. And believe it or not, that actually takes practice. I know that sounds kind of silly to say that you have to practice living in the moment, but how many times do you get at the end of your week and you think, did I do anything that was just for me, or did we have fun, the people in my household? Did we do anything that was fun, or was it just like the week's ended and you're like, I just kind of got through it? And that doesn't feel very good. So, how do you begin to experience the here and the now? And I'm going to tell you one of the, it's an old tool in the toolbox, but I'm going to tell you it is so effective. And it's a journal. It is truly a journal. Now, I'm not talking writing, because you might just be rolling your eyes like, no, I'm not a writer. I'm not asking you to write a narrative. Now, if that's your thing, by all means, do it. I mean, there are times I take a notion to actually just write out a narrative, and it's so therapeutic for me, and I enjoy it. And it's like when I do, certain things kind of come in that are, I didn't realize that they were the most important things in my mind at the time, but they always kind of come front and center. But what I'm talking about is just get you a notebook. Nothing doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could be something really pretty that's just you and your little special moment. And at the end of the evening, just kind of do bullets of, like, well, slept good last night. Got to work on time. So-and-so had her baby. Just whatever the little things are that happen. You mowed your grass. Look, the yard looks nice. The garden's producing now. Whatever the situation is, just bullets. And before you notice, or before you realize it, there are going to be things that start showing up in front of you. And if you've watched me for any length of time, I tend to share this story pretty often. When I first started doing this, I remember racing out the door to go to work, and this is how long ago it was. I had my BlackBerry, and I was on my BlackBerry, just looking at messages and texting and what have you as I'm getting in the car to go to work. And all of a sudden, in my peripheral vision, I saw something flopping. And I thought, what is that? And I turned to look, and it was a butterfly. It was a beautiful monarch butterfly, and I just was like, oh, a butterfly. Like, who sees butterflies anymore? And just went on my way. But I did put that in my little journal that night, that I saw a butterfly. And I would have told you before that butterfly that I probably hadn't seen one in years. But once I opened my mind to that possibility, the number of butterflies that I have seen since is, I can't even count them. And now, what will happen as a result of this is you will just, without even thinking about it, you will just start experiencing some of these little things. For example, now when I see a butterfly, I just stop and I just watch it. And I just am fascinated by how it flitters here and there, and its colors, and how they're all so different, and not seemingly a care in the world. So, it could be that all of a sudden you start noticing your children laughing. It could be you notice, somebody, a dear friend of yours, that they're always there for you. They're just always doing little things, and you never really thought about the love behind those gestures. So just give it a try. Just trust me on this one. It will serve you well, and it will help you be in the here and the now once you start doing it. Okay, so please trust me on this. Now, this is a silly little analogy, but I want you to think about a dog in the car and the windows are down. What is that dog doing? Well, he's hanging his head out the window. His jaws are just blowing in the wind. But which direction is he looking? He's looking forward, isn't he? How about your toddler when they wake up from their nap? Do they wake up and like, Mom, I really didn't like that breakfast you fixed me this morning? No. They're like, let's go. Let's go. They are going forward. They are being in the here and the now. And so, take a cue from the dog. Take a cue from your children. And be in the here and the now. Look forward. Now, do you think if you, as far as thinking about being in the past, I'm just going to give you another thought or two about that, but do you think if you spend enough time thinking about something, regretting it, feeling guilty, ashamed, remorseful, angry, or hurt over what happened in the past, that you could change the experience? for the outcome? Of course not. So what are you gaining from being in the past and being held back by things that are in the past? So, God, which I'm a Christian, so I say God, but, maybe your higher source, your inner guide, whatever is your verbiage, you were created to learn through experiences that prepare you for the next step, and just doing, you're constantly created for, or doing experiences because you were created for a purpose, not just one, but purposes constantly. And so let what happened, then be released, forgiven, forgotten. Let it go so you can just look forward. I hope that is helpful to you, just to kind of think more specifically about living in the past, living in our stories. And again, you may not even be aware that you are. You just think you're showing up as how you show up. And perhaps that's the truth, but I bet if you start looking a little deeper, maybe even ask some friends or notice, do you find yourself saying little phrases like, well, when I was little, blah, 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 or, my parents didn't, blah, 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 or, well, do you find yourself recounting stories that have a negative connotation, that they weren't fun memories, so to speak? And that could be a clue to you. So just be open to the fact that it's possible, and see if you are doing that, and if you might possibly be limiting your own future experiences because of things that happened in the past. So again, I hope this is helpful just to get you thinking a little bit. And always, if you would like to talk further, please private message me, and I'm happy to get together with you and talk. And so I hope the rest of the week is good. It's going to be hot here in the southeast, but it's July. It's supposed to be hot, right? So bye for now.